My name is Gary Vilke. I'm an emergency physician out here in San Diego. I've been doing research in the area of physiologic effects of use of force for, almost, 30 years. On the prone position, when they have a hobble, when they have a hog tie, when they have weight on their back, what to do to their blood pressure, their heart rate, their breathing in particular. And we've done research up to 225 pounds of weight on people's backs. But from a summary perspective, physiologically it's neutral. Because of all the research, I've been involved in legal consulting in hundreds of cases. Most of them ending in death, but just law enforcement cases in general. When there is a death, I can't even think of a case that the prone restraint was not implicated by the medical examiner. Meaning that everybody's, they're getting arrested, there's always a prone position, there's almost always a knee on the back, you're pulling the hands behind the back, sometimes a struggle, long, short, taser use, pepper spray, all that stuff's in there. But there's almost always prone positioning because that's how they're trained to put the handcuffs on. And so the medical examiners and the plaintiff's experts are all going to say prone positioning was a piece of the death. Maybe it caused it, maybe it contributed to it, but it's part of it. I like the fact that you can take that out of the equation if you're able to use the SafeWrap system, because nobody can go and say there was a prone position as a contributing factor to this death. That just takes it out of the way. So now, from an expert perspective, my job is easier, okay? They may not even need me. From the law enforcement perspective, the optics, the PR, the cameras, the video is going to be posted online, TMZ, whatever you want to call it, it's going to take that out of the equation. Prone position, a bunch of guys holding them down, trying to get hands out from underneath them, and then you roll them over finally when you get them handcuffed and he's blue. That's the optics, and that's the reality of a lot of these cases. That's what happens, and they're just challenging to defend. So you can take that out of the way by using something like the SafeWrap, right? It doesn't necessarily have to replace all your other training, all your other stuff, but boy, it offers what a great physiologic and optical perspective. Ultimately it came to a point where, hey, I'd like to experience this. Talk with the Gracies, and so I got one of my work colleagues here, who also I do research with, Dr. Christian Sloan. So we had the opportunity to go, hands-on and experience this. Look at how it actually impacts the breathing aspects. That's what I worry about as a physician is, does it impact somebody potentially in a negative way? Does it potentially impact somebody in a negative way if they don't do it correctly? You got to participate both as a performer as well as a recipient of the procedure. And I thought the being the recipient was probably the most telling part. I can fight as much as I want, not going anywhere. It doesn't cause me any pain. It's actually a very comfortable position. So it's almost a motherly type position. It's not painful compliance, it's just immobilization. From the breathing perspective, even if somebody leans weight on there, it doesn't block the airway. It doesn't block the breathing apparatus. It doesn't block or compress the chest either this way or anterior posterior.
The one thing I did wanted to have you do is, can you put me in the side position and then do it wrong with way too much weight?
Yeah, sure.
So say you're hopped up and
I'm on my toes right now.
Yeah, okay. So, and even with that,
talk about your diaphragm right now. Talk about the chest to back first.
There's nothing. Yeah. There's nothing.
So from a safety perspective, it seems incredibly safe. What I did like was that the handcuffing was also all on its side. It's all in a lateral position. You didn't have to have somebody prone to pull the hand behind the back, because physiologic perspective from a doctor looking at it, I like that. A lot of the cases that end up having bad outcomes, there's a prolonged event trying to get somebody handcuffed. One of the big disadvantages of having somebody prone is that you can't see their face. People exhibit fear, anxiety, medical urgencies in the eyes and the face. And so if you can't see that, you may be missing cues that you have a chance to intervene earlier on. Obviously in the SafeWrap, you're looking at the face all the time. You're hearing what they're saying. They're not muffled in the ground. And if things change, you have an immediate opportunity to evaluate. From an individual perspective, it's less claustrophobic inducing, fear inducing by not knowing where you're at. Your face is down or being held down or whatever it is. Here it's out to the side. I see what's going on. So take that to the courtroom, right? Now you got somebody who is held on their side. You're talking to them, showing compassion. So I think that from a jury perspective, from cases I've seen in which have gone very well and gone very poorly, a lot of it is how the jury feels about the officer. They show that, hey, getting you help, so the EMS is going to come here, we'll get you to the hospital, get the care you need, and something bad happens, the jury's a lot more empathetic than when you have somebody just yelling at them and hitting them and trying to do distraction strikes and pulling the taser out to do drive stunts to get that arm out or do this. that just doesn't look good. And juries don't like that. It's unfortunate. You got to do your job. But the reality is if you can do it in a way that's just as safe for you, just as effective, that doesn't require those things, then, if I ever had to defend a case, it'd be much easier for me to defend that. It's ironic that I'm in healthcare, and the Gracie family had actually, they've been doing jiu-jitsu for 100 years. They were asked by a group to try to figure out the best ways to restrain aggressive or violent patients. In a hospital setting, there is no tolerance for patient injury. There's no tolerance for anything that's compliance hold, pain holds, anything like that. That's just, it's not allowed. Even though you got the same type of person in the ER that you do on the street, the tolerance at a hospital level is much different, much more regulated, scrutinized, although the law enforcement world is becoming that as well, right? It's being watched by everybody now. So taking something that's already been proven successful in a hospital setting and applying it to the law enforcement world only makes sense. I think that this is a system that is worthy of being considered by every law enforcement agency. It's a tool in the toolbox. Again, no one tool fits everything, but from a perspective of safety, I don't see anything that would reflect that this would be unsafe. Certainly, it seems to be better in a way of monitoring, observing, and optics compared to current prone positioning. And so, I guess if you boil it down, if I'm going to be arrested, my brother's going to be arrested, I would much rather be put on my side. I would rather much be put in the SafeWrap position than face down in the concrete, not knowing what's going on and having weight on my back and pressure and all that type of thing. So this would be my number one recommendation if I had to have a restraint process applied to me or my brother. It's frustrating to do a law death case, right? And you know that the guy had 30 seconds of prone positioning and some weight on them, and his meth level is off the mark. He's sweating, his temperature is 103, he's been fighting and jumping fences, and it's the 30 seconds of restraint, the 60 seconds of restraint in a prone position that killed him is what everybody's going to say. Take that out of the way. That would be the best thing that this could do for the public in general, right? Obviously, it's going to change lives from the perspective of lawsuits, civil suits, prison sentences. That's what I would love to see. I think if every agency was SafeWrap certified, used it in the manner it's been trained on, keeps people on their side, I still think that there are going to be deaths. I think it's going to happen. But I think from a perspective of liability, from defensibility, from safety, from everybody, I think the SafeWrap device would completely pivot that aspect of things.